these practices aren't just a walkabout in the park. It's here that races are often won or lost.
Absolutely. Back home in North Carolina, we emphasize the setup. A few tweaks during practice can lead to major gains on race day.
Richard Rossier posted 2:16.593 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There's Sunoiler, gently nudging the beast as they head out. The outlap is where you whisper to the car, "Let's dance," before the real party starts.
You got that right. It's a gentle waltz before the full-on rock concert of the race. They're testing the waters, getting a feel for every bend and straight of Sebring International Raceway.
Richard Rossier posted a 2:16.593 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Sunoiler is on the outlap, not just warming up the tires but also warming up their instincts, getting that racer's intuition dialed in.
True that. They're getting the feel of the track, the car, the conditions. It's all about setting the stage for what's to come.
With just 1,277 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Look at Sunoiler taking it nice and easy, a smart move. Like a chess player contemplating the opening move, they're planning several steps ahead.
Spot on. They're mentally mapping each corner, each straight. It's not just about the car, it's about strategy and foresight.
Richard Rossier's first flyer is a solid start, clocking in at 5:37.058. They're getting a feel for the track, but there's room to shave off a few more seconds.
Absolutely, Rob. It's all about finding those little tweaks, adjusting the line here, braking a tad later there. Every lap is a learning curve.
In these sessions, they're not just pushing the car's limits, but their own too. Testing their mettle, seeing how far they can go before the big dance.
Exactly. It's a mental game as much as a physical one. Balancing aggression with precision, daring with data. It's an art and a science.
Alright, Richard Rossier has put down a 537.058. It's a decent benchmark, but I reckon there's more juice to squeeze out of that radical state Route 3.
For sure, Rob, it's early days. They're just starting to sync up with the track. We'll likely see those times tumble as they dial in.
There goes Smells Like We on their first dance with Sebring International Raceway. Every bend, every straight is a chance to learn, to adapt.
Yep, and it's about syncing with the car too. Making sure everything's in harmony. It's like tuning an instrument before a big concert.
Richard Rossier has a best lap time of 2:16.593. Sunoiler is out there, taking it slow and steady on the outlap. This lap is like the calm before the storm, a moment of zen before pushing the limits.
That's right, it's about understanding the track's personality today a Euro. Each day, each lap can tell a different story, especially at a track like Sebring International Raceway.
There's no mucking around for Smells Like We a Euro, straight down to business on this first flyer. They'll be keen to see what times they can clock in early on.
Yeah, and it's not just about speed. It's about rhythm, finding that flow around Sebring International Raceway. Getting into that groove early can set the pace for the whole session.
Watch as Sunoiler takes it nice and easy on this outlap. It's not just about warming up the tyres, it's about getting into that mental pit lane, tuning into the race mindset.
For sure, Rob, they're calibrating everything a Euro. The brakes, the steering, the throttle response. It's a crucial part of laying down the groundwork for a successful practice session.
Smells Like We is getting to grips with the radical state Route 3 in this practice session. So, for those tuning in and wondering what's the go with these practice sessions, well, it ain't just about flexing their engines. It's about synergy, mate. Getting the driver, the car, and the track to sing in harmony.
Couldn't have put it better. We liken it to rehearsing a dance. Every step, every turn must be practiced until it's second nature on the big stage.
You know, mate, some folks wonder why these drivers spend so much time in practice. But it's just like prepping a Barbie, you gotta get it right before the big show.
Exactly. Rob, practice makes perfect, and in racing, perfect can be the difference between pole position and the back of the grid.
There's the first flying lap for Megasaurus 55, hitting 529.230. It's a start, but they'll be looking to iron out those kinks as they get more laps under their belt.
Right on, Rob. It's early in the session, so there's plenty of time to experiment and find those extra tenths of a second.
And there's Sunoiler, easing out onto Sebring International Raceway. It's like the first step on a long hike, finding your footing before you hit full stride.
Right, and every racer knows this out lap is precious. It's their first handshake with the track today, feeling out its mood and temperament.
Richard Rossier posted 2:19.572 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? And off goes Dan Fango, easing into the rhythm of Sebring International Raceway. This lap is like the first sip of your morning coffee, waking up the senses, priming the engines.
Yeah, it's about syncing up with the machine, getting that perfect harmony between driver and car. It's like a prelude to a symphony that's about to unfold on the track.
There's Sunoiler, gently nudging the beast as they head out. The out lap is where you whisper to the car, "Let's dance," before the real party starts.
You got that right. It's a gentle waltz before the full-on rock concert of the race. They're testing the waters, getting a feel for every bend and straight of Sebring International Raceway.
Smells Like We has a best lap time of 2:11.019. Sunoiler's on the outlap, getting a taste of the tarmac. It's like sniffing the cork before a good wine. First impressions matter.
Exactly. They're assessing the grip, the balance, the whole shebang. You can learn a lot in these quiet moments before the throttle really opens up.
These practices, mate, they're like a kangaroo finding its best hop. Once you've got it, you're unstoppable.
Couldn't have put it better. Finding the perfect launch is all about repetition and adjustments.
Now, here's a term some might not be familiar with: roll bar stiffness. Sounds technical, doesn't it?
It does, but in essence, it's about how the car reacts to lateral forces, especially during cornering. Adjusting the roll bar can change how the car behaves mid-corner. A softer setting can be more forgiving, but a stiffer one might give the driver a quicker response, albeit with less margin for error.
Dan Fango is rolling out for the first sniff of the track. It's all about feeling the car, the tarmac, and getting the mind in the zone.
Absolutely, Rob. The out lap is like the opening chapter of a book. A Euro sets the tone for the whole story. They'll be checking how the car's responding, getting a real feel for the conditions today at Sebring International Raceway.
Sunoiler is on the outlap, not just warming up the tires but also warming up their instincts, getting that racer's intuition dialed in.
True that. They're getting the feel of the track, the car, the conditions. It's all about setting the stage for what's to come.
With just 1,263 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Look at Dan Fango taking it nice and easy, a smart move. Like a chess player contemplating the opening move, they're planning several steps ahead.
Spot on. They're mentally mapping each corner, each straight. It's not just about the car, it's about strategy and foresight.
Richard Rossier's first serious lap is in the books with a time of 2:55.408. Good effort, but I'm expecting them to really push the envelope in the next few laps.
Yeah, it's about building that momentum, Rob. Fine-tuning their approach with each turn, each lap, getting more out of the car and themselves.
Watch as Rob Keane takes it nice and easy on this outlap. It's not just about warming up the tires, it's about getting into that mental pit lane, tuning into the race mindset.
For sure, Rob. They're calibrating everything a Euro. The brakes, the steering, the throttle response. It's a crucial part of laying down the groundwork for a successful practice session.
Smells Like We's first flyer is a solid start, clocking in at 2:10.256. They're getting a feel for the track, but there's room to shave off a few more seconds.
Absolutely, Rob. It's all about finding those little tweaks, adjusting the line here, braking a tad later there. Every lap is a learning curve.
Get ready for some high-octane action as the drivers take on the challenge of qualifying at Sebring International Raceway.
Let's see who's got the speed and the skills to take the pole position.
Smells Like We is on their outlap. What a fantastic showing from Rob in qualifying. They currently hold the top spot and are in prime position for a strong starting position. Their lap times have been exceptional and they have showcased their talent and determination. Impressive display by Sunoiler, currently sitting in position 4. They've set a competitive time, but the question remains whether they can push even harder to secure a better starting position. It's an impressive showing by Smells Like We, currently in 3rd. They've showcased their talent, but will they be able to find those crucial extra tenths of a second to climb higher?
Couldn't agree more, Rob. Smells Like We has positioned themselves impressively in 3rd. Now, they need to build on this foundation and strive for an even better race result.
Incredible performance by Megasaurus 55 so far. They have been the benchmark in this qualification session, consistently setting fast lap times and securing the top spot. It's a commanding position for them, and their rivals will be chasing their tail.
You're spot on, Rob. Megasaurus 55 is showcasing exceptional skill and consistency in this qualifying session. It's a formidable position they hold, and their rivals will need to step up their game to challenge them.
Megasaurus 55 has completed their outlap. Megasaurus 55 has completed their outlap. What a performance from Eddie G. They currently occupy 2nd on the grid. Can they maintain this strong position and secure a favourable starting spot? Eddie G has just completed that lap in 2:12.686. Their best lap so far is 2:12.686. Putting them in P4, will they be able to hold on to that spot? Incredible drive by Dan Fango so far, earning them 8th on the grid. However, the competition is fierce. Will they be able to find that extra edge to move up? Dan Fango has completed their outlap. Impressive work from Richard Rossier, who has claimed 2nd on the grid. Now, the focus is on maintaining their composure and pushing for an even better starting position.
I couldn't agree more, Rob. Richard Rosier has done a fantastic job to claim 2nd. The challenge now is to convert this opportunity into a strong race result.
Richard Rossier has completed their first flying lap in 2:09.922. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Megasaurus 55 has just completed a lap in 2:09.353. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Sunoiler has completed their outlap. And there goes Dan Fango, currently in position 6. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still time to improve their result. Dan Fango might need to rethink their setup. That 214.721 isn't doing them any favors in 6th. Maybe tweaking the downforce for better grip could shave off a few precious seconds.
I agree, Rob. A bit more downforce on those corners at Sebring International Raceway could make a world of difference. But they'll have to be careful not to sacrifice too much top speed on the straights.
A solid qualifying performance by Eddie G, positioning them in 5th at the moment. The question now is whether they can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners.
I completely agree, Rob. Eddie G has positioned themselves impressively in 5th. However, it's crucial for them to keep pushing to potentially improve their starting position.
Looks like Eddie G is making a statement, securing a spot in 5th.
Yep, Rob, but there's always room for improvement. Smooth, consistent laps might just be the key to climbing even higher before this session wraps up. Every fraction of a second counts. I am sure they can find a little extra in there.
Currently in 7th, Sunoiler has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real test lies in whether they can convert this performance into a higher grid position.
Absolutely, Rob. Sunoiler has shown great potential to secure 7th. It's now a matter of channeling that momentum into a strong performance during the race.
Sunoiler has just completed that lap in 2:15.187. Their best lap so far is 2:15.187, putting them in P7. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? Eddie G has secured a respectable 5th in the qualifying session. Can they capitalize on this position and use it as a launching pad for a stronger race performance? There's a real buzz in the air as Eddie G secures 5th.
Right you are, Rob. They've put themselves in a solid spot, but they can't let up now. Staying smooth and focused is key to shaving off those extra fractions.
A strong showing from Smells Like We as they currently sit in 3rd. With the session drawing to a close, they'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve. It's a stellar performance from Smells Like We, clinching third.
They're in a great spot, Rob, but in qualifying, complacency can be your worst enemy. They need to keep pushing the limits while staying cool under pressure. It may be difficult for them to improve further on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower. They need to drive smooth and smart.
Impressive display by Smells Like We, currently sitting in position 3. They've set a competitive time, but the question remains whether they can push even harder to secure a better starting position. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Sebring International Raceway, as we're getting ready to kick things off. Starting from pole position is a great opportunity for Cordo to take control of the race. As the green flag drops, keep an eye on Megasaurus 55 starting in second position.
The British driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Taking off from the third grid slot is the skilled driver, Richard Rossier,
putting that radical state Route 3 into prime position for the race.
The fourth place on the grid belongs to Smells Like We, a driver with plenty of experience.
Another good start for the English driver.
As the drivers prepare to take off, Dan Fango sits in fifth place on the starting grid.
Could we see a podium result from Dan Fango?
Our sixth place starter, Eddie G, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
Expect some battling with Dan Fango.
Sunoiler is seventh. The eighth starting position belongs to Rob Keane, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
Keane is going to show us something special, I'm sure of it.
off they shoot. The race has found its cadence. Now, amongst this kinetic poetry, which driver will craft the most compelling first verse?
Well shoot, this here's where the rubber meets the road. These drivers gotta wrangle their rides just right or it's all gonna go south in a hurry.
The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one.
I'm looking forward to this one, Rob, and we'll see a return to form for Cordo in this outing in USA.
Struth, mate, Cordo's had a shocker of a start, slipping down the order like a cold beer on a hot day. This is going to be one hell of a race, I can already feel it. Rob must have had a rocket under their seat, because they've shot off the line like a missile. It's not a footy sprint, but Sunoilers belted out of there like they're chasing the final try.
Just needs to keep that momentum going. It's too early to count chickens just yet. Rob, a race isn't won in the first lap, but I've seen plenty end there.
Looks like Smells Like We was channeling a sloth at the start, losing places as they crawled off the line. It's a solid performance from Smells Like We at the moment. They're holding their position and not getting too caught up in battles around them. Well, butter my bread and call it a sandwich. Cordo's not letting Smells Like We have all the fairy bread at this party. Watch out, Smells Like We, he's coming for your Tim Tams, mate.
The roaring engines are echoing Cordo's battle cry. Smells like we. Can you hear the thunder?
Blimey, Cordo's cranking up the downforce, making every newton of force count. That gap's shrinking faster than my wallet at the pub.
Lukey here. Cordo's got the optimal differential settings, allowing for tighter corner exits. It's like watching a cat chase a laser pointer when they chase Smells Like We.
Superb driving from Cordo, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. This race has turned into a game of cat and mouse. Smells Like We is the predator, with Cordo firmly in their sights.
The gap between them is now just over 0.6 seconds. Who will come out on top?
Cordo has the pedal to the metal, chasing Eddie G.
Can they make it past without taking the paint off?
The action is non-stop as Smells Like We shadows Cordo through every twist and turn, determined to claim 7th.
At this rate, Smells Like We and Cordo are so close, they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
A great pass for Smells Like We as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Cordo has lost ground.
Talk about turbocharged ambition. Smells Like We's got the afterburners on full blast today.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Alright, hold your horses. Smells Like We is really putting the heat on Eddie G. If I were Eddie G, I'd be checking those mirrors non-stop.
Remember that time Smells Like We made that audacious move on the last lap? Feels like deja vu, doesn't it, Rob?
Stone the crows. Smells Like We's pulled a sneaky, landing at 8th. Always a surprise with them.
That's got to hurt. Smells Like We will be kicking themselves right now.
Oh, talk about a tango on tarmac. Cordo is dancing closer and closer to Eddie G. You can feel the tension as they approach Sunset Bend.
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect, but let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned games.
The adrenaline is pumping as Smells Like We gets within striking distance of Eddie G in their race for 7.
It's a battle of nerves now. Who will make the first mistake? Smells Like We or Eddie G? This is high-stakes racing.
The crowd is on their feet, roaring with excitement. It's an all-out war between these three drivers. Who will emerge victorious? Your guess is as good as mine. A tough moment for Dan Fango, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 8th. Things are getting spicy as Smells Like We is breathing down Eddie's neck. The gap? Mate, you couldn't slide a credit card between them. Alright, lads and ladies, it's crunch time. Rob Keane is sniffing around Richard Rossier like a dog with a bone. And it looks like they might just take a bite out of second.
Oi, Rob, wouldn't want to be in Richard Rossier's shoes right now, would y'all? Talk about a pressure cooker situation.
Good on ya, son oiler. Trailing so far back, reckon the front pack has already written the eulogy. What do you think, Hal? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Rob. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
Looks like Sunoiler is chasing Rob Keane harder than a croc chasing a tourist who's lost their thongs. It's a bit of a long shot, but we all remember that one time at the pub, right?
When you talk about experience, it's like saying I've experienced my mother-in-law's cooking. It doesn't mean I want to do it again. But Sunoiler, keep pushing.
Smells Like We wants to close that gap with Eddie G. The intensity is off the charts as Rob hounds Richard Rossier, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. The gap between Smells Like We and Eddie G is razor thin as they vie for 6th in this nail-biting contest.
This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail for the top spot.
Now that's how it's done. Smells Like We rips through the track, while Eddie G watches the taillights fade.
Absolutely, Rob. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and Smells Like We can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
This is a thrilling battle as Eddie G edges closer to Smells Like We in their fight for P6.
I think they are going to take them.
The gap between Eddie G and Smells Like We is growing. It's now up to 1.2 seconds. Even though Eddie G is stop the press, maybe Smells Like We's got a drop bear in the cockpit, cause that move was bonkers.
Sweet cornbread. Smells Like We must have thought there's a Walmart sale off the track the way they went off.
Hold on to your stubbies. Sunoiler is closing in on Cordo like a bachelor at the end of a buck's night. Hope Cordo either brought some lube or protection. If Sunoiler doesn't pick up the pace, Hal, they'll be as relevant as an ashtray on a motorbike. You know, Hal, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Rob. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Sunoiler, who is currently in P5. But Cordo is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Sunoiler.
Yeehaw, it's like Sunoiler took a detour through the drive-thru. With a gap that big, I hope they ordered extra determination with a side of grit.
Any bloke or Sheila saying Assetto Corsa Friends isn't top-notch is a few kangaroos short of the top paddock. Out there, it's art on wheels.
Totally get you, like, they're born racers. That weaving, the speed, just mesmerizing. It's like watching a roo dodging a ute on a highway. All skill, mate, all skill.
Richard Rossier is making ground on Rob quicker than a roo in a paddock. Now, the gap's just 2.0 seconds.
Richard Rossier is hot on Rob's trail like a Carolina Reaper. This is shaping up to be a nail-biter, folks.
The gap between Cordo in 4th and Richard Rossier remains over a second, but Cordo is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close the gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 9 minutes?
Ooh boy, Cordo needs to kick it into high gear. Right now, they're slower than molasses in January or my cousin Earl trying to solve a crossword.
Good news for Cordo, the gap to Richard Rossier has decreased. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
He's waiting on that golden chance like a hound on a pork chop.
Someone should tell Richard Rossier this ain't a Sunday drive. Cordo's tearing up the track.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Cordo needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
If racing were a dance, Richard Rossier would be trying to lead, but Cordo just keeps cutting in. The dance floor is heating up.
Absolutely. Richard Rossier and Ford will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
From the cockpit to the pit lane, the chatter is all about Megasaurus 55's masterful hold on the first. Struth, Megasaurus, hold that thought, hold the phone. Just like my hope in finding the one. Eddie's direction seems a bit lost right now. With the asphalt burning beneath them, Eddie's strategy seems to be working, placing them in 6th.
Spot on, Rob. Still waters run deep, and even if it looks calm now, Eddie G needs to maintain that razor-sharp edge.
The crowd is on tender hooks as Cordo in 3rd chases after Rob Keane. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Cordo find a way to catch up?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Cordo tries to reel in Rob Keane. But Rob Keane is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Cordo find some extra pace to bring the fight to Keane?
Well, don't come the raw prawn. Cordo's giving it some stick, pulling Keane into a mere 1.2 seconds. You know, racing is all about strategy. It's like choosing between a sausage sizzle and a meat pie.
Sausage? Sizzle? Why not just grab a burger and call it a day? But I get your point. Strategy is everything out here.
Tell ya what, Cordo is trailing like my mate Dave after a bender. Hope there's no random testing today.
My mama used to say, you can't shine if you don't try. Guess Cordo missed that lesson. Just like my pie-making class.
No room for error here. Smells Like We is breathing down the neck of Dan Fango, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move. It's a challenging situation for Smells Like We. They're sandwiched between their fierce competitors, 0.1 seconds away and Dan Fango 0.2 seconds ahead. They'll need to stay sharp and find an opportunity to make a move. I've made some questionable life decisions, but trailing over 2 seconds behind? Even I'm not that self-sabotaging. Bloody ripper. Cordo's just made Keane look like they're on a Sunday drive with that scorcher of a lap. Alright, I've got to ask, ever tried Vegemite?
Tried it once. Reminded me of NASCAR rubber mixed with axle grease. But hey, to each their own.
Seems like Dan Fango is getting in range of smells like weed.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble in the boundary of disaster.
It looks like Cordo is all over Keen. I think they're gonna press them through start-finish and try and press for a mistake.
For sure, Rob, that's exactly what I would be doing here, as Keen is going to be aware of them riding their bumper. I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
Keen's playing hard to get, eh? If they drop the pace anymore, they'll be in reverse. But crikey, Cordo's just raring to go. Smells Like We is placed 7th at the moment. They are hoping to keep their distance ahead of Dan Fango, who is 1.6 seconds behind. You know, Hal, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Rob. With so many factors to consider and the intense focus required, even the most experienced drivers can have a momentary lapse. That's why mental training and staying in the zone are so important.
Sunoiler's drifting so far back, it's like looking in the mirror after a decade-long pub binge. Time's not been kind, mate.
Well, slap my grandma and call me Sally. Sunoiler's got more distance to cover than my cousin Cletus has teeth. But if anyone can bridge that gap, it's Sunoiler.
It seems like Sunoiler has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Richard Rossier's lap time there. I love being here at Sebring International Raceway. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Rob, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a moment.
Rob is running third. They are trying to catch Cordo.
Every twist, every turn, it's like a tango at 200 miles per hour. Who'll take the lead?
It's not looking good for Rob Keen. They are still behind Cordo and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. It's a great day and the tarmac's heating up and these tires are getting a proper workout.
Speaking of which,
hold on a second, stone the crows. Rob's off in the bush again. Someone get him a map and compass.
I reckon Rob thought they were panning for gold off the track there. Sorry, buddy, that's not how you strike it rich.
Sunoiler is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Sunoiler is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 1.85 seconds down. We've seen overtakes, close calls, and pure racing genius today. Currently, Smells Like We has carved out a spot at 7th. It's a thrilling pursuit as Sunoiler is right behind Richard Rossier, keeping the pressure on for 4th place. It seems like Sunoiler is struggling. They are not able to maintain their pace.
Can Sunoiler refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they're capable of?
From the grandstands to the pit lane, all eyes are on the action. Amongst the frontrunners, Eddie G is showing prowess in 6th. Coming into Gurney Bend, the fight for 4th is heating up. Who will be the first to blink? Dan Fango's duffed it up. They're gonna need more than a Colby to forget that one. It's like watching a cheetah chase its prey. Sunoiler's got Richard Rossier in their crosshair. On the final lap now, and Megasaurus 55 looks like they might just wrap up this win.
You got this. Keep your cool.
The leader has done it. What an incredible performance from Megasaurus 55, who was simply untouchable today. This is a race that will go down in the history books.
What a display of skill and precision.
Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Cordo certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result. Impressive drive from Rob to claim the final spot on the podium. Richard Rossier end in 4th. Sunoiler claimed 5th. Coming in 6th we have Eddie G. In 7th, it's Dan Fango. Smells like we in 8th. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Sebring International Raceway, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Dan Fango has got the inside track starting from pole position.
But they will have to keep their foot on the gas in order to stay there.
The second position belongs to Smells Like We.
I'm sure Smells Like We will be expecting to bring home solid points from here.
Starting just behind the front runners in third place is the determined driver, Sun Oiler. And in fourth place, we have Eddie G.
I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Eddie G can do from here.
Securing the fifth place is Rob Keane. Richard Rossier is going to be starting from sixth.
The Swiss driver has been driving the wheels off the Radical State Route 3 in practice.
Cordo will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from 7th on the grid. Megasaurus 55 has qualified 8th.
Starting on the medium's tires.
The green light signals the beginning of an epic race. As the drivers jostle for position, it's all about keeping their cool under pressure.
Y'all, this is where the rubber meets the road. Them drivers gonna be hustling to snag the best spot.
You ain't kidding. Gotta be sharper than a hickory stick to come out clean on this stretch.
This first bit always got me on the edge of my seat. Bunch of cars all jumbled up, one little hiccup and it's lights out.
Yeah, gotta keep your eyes peeled and your hands steady on that wheel. Now, isn't that a sight? Dan Fango hanging tight at one. Maybe they're waiting for everyone else to make their move. Smart as a whip, that one.
Like gladiators they enter Rob, but instead of lions and swords our champions fight in merino tarmac, and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
Oi, that's rough. Starting off at 1 and now at 4, Dan Fango is going to have to play some serious catch-up at Sebring. Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here.
No rush, no fuss for Richard Rossier. In the South, we appreciate taking a moment to breathe, and that's just what they're doing at 6. We'll see how things spice up.
Butter my butt and call me a biscuit. Cordo's on fire. What did they slip into their engine? A can of Foster?
Well, whatever it is, they're surely making a statement. But the road's long, and they better keep their wits about them.
Incredible. Eddie G is caught in a fierce battle, with Cordo breathing down their neck 0.2 seconds away, and Rob just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds. It's a test of their racing skills. Oh, things are getting intense for Eddie G. They're sandwiched between Cordo and Rob, navigating this high-speed battleground. The gap to the car ahead is 0.1 seconds, while the car behind is only 0.2 seconds away. Whoa there, Eddie G is sticking to Rob like glue. You reckon Rob's feeling the pressure? 'Cause I sure would. Megasaurus 55 wants to find a way round Richard Rossier.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake, but who's going to make that mistake first?
A brilliant maneuver from Megasaurus 55, who has just moved up the field.
That kind of move? That's what happens when you mix horsepower with a dash of southern charm.
You ever wonder, Rob, how much preparation goes into each race weekend? It's not just about the driver, but the hundreds behind the scenes, making every little detail count.
Oh, absolutely. The hours spent in the simulator, the mechanics working overnight on those tweaks. Racing is as much about team spirit and dedication as it is about speed on the track. It's a collective masterpiece.
It's tighter than a wallaby in a pouch out there.
I'll try and translate this, and on this side of the pond, it's closer than a hot dog in a bun.
As fast as a cut snake, Richard Rosier is moving away from Sunoiler.
Seems like Richard Rosier has got the wind in their sails, but will Sunoiler be able to weather the storm? You ain't whistling Dixie, Rob. Richard Rosier is putting on a show that's sure to keep the crowd on the edge of their seats.
Crikey, Eddie's playing hardball today. Closing off those gaps like a tight-knit woolly jumper. Good luck weaving through that one, Richard Rosier. Impressive driving from Eddie G, who has managed to extend their lead over Richard Rosier. They are walking away at this point. Does Richard Rosier have anything in reserve? Or are they saving their car for a final push?
Well, Rob, it's like they say, slow and steady wins the race. But in this case, it seems like slow and steady might just be too slow. Will Richard Rosier be able to find that extra gear and catch up to Eddie G? Or will they end up saving their car for nothing and run out of gas at the finish line?
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. Well, I'll be a monkey's Uncle Hal, but Sunoiler's plans have gone walkabout right now. They're having a proper Barry Crocker keeping up with Richard Rosier. The gap between Eddie G and Richard Rosier may be wide, but that doesn't mean Eddie G is safe. They have to keep their concentration and avoid any lapses in performance. Oh dear, Eddie G has dropped down to 8th. The crowd is on its feet as Richard Rosier chases down Sunoiler through Cunningham Corner.
This battle between Richard Rosier and Sunoiler is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Dan Fango is breathing down the neck of Richard Rosier, not giving him any room to relax. Sunoiler could be looking for a way up the inside of Richard Rosier.
There is no room for error in this battle.
Blimey, Dan Fango is sticking to Sunoiler like a kangaroo to her joey. Braking development, Struth. Smells like we's having a real dog's breakfast of a moment. It's hotter out there than an Aussie summer day, mate. Reckon Dan Fango can catch some shade behind Sunoiler?
Shade? Here, we call that drafting. Let's see if they can stay cool and make a move. If not, there's always the AC in the pit. The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
It's an intense battle for position as Eddie G tries to outmaneuver Dan Fango. This is edge-of-your-seat racing.
Honestly, Rob, with this chase, I'm half expecting to see some sneaky dive bombs in the next few laps. Popcorn ready?
Eddie G and Dan Fango have a gap between them that's growing like Jack's beanstalk. We're talking 0.9 seconds now. As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
The chase music's playing in Rob's head as they reel in Smells Like Weed, moment by nail-biting moment.
Woo-wee. There's more tension between Rob and Smells Like Weed than there is at a shotgun wedding. Pass the popcorn and let's see where this love story goes.
The gap between Rob and Smells Like We is expanding faster than a bull's waistline. It's now a whopping 1.2 seconds. You know, hell, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Rob. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
Watching Eddie G try to close the gap on Dan Fango is like watching someone try to catch an ice cream truck on foot. Hope they've got good shoes. It's game on now. Eddie G has closed the gap to Dan Fango. It's now down to 0.5 seconds.
Eddie's suspension setup's really letting them carry speed into the apex, catching up to Dan Fango like molasses in winter.
A great moment for Eddie G, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
It's like Eddie G had an extra shot of espresso or something, jetting up to 7th.
The race is heating up as Rob in 3rd closes in on Smells Like We. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
This is where experience comes into play. Smells Like We has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Rob is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
As the sun beats down and the engines roar, Sunoiler stakes a claim in 6th. It's a dynamic landscape out there. Sunoiler's shift to 8th is testament to that.
Well, butter my biscuit. A bit of a hiccup for Sunoiler, but they've
Stop the press. Looks like Sunoiler is testing the off-road capabilities of their ride. Talk about intense. Dan Fango is on Eddie's bumper. We're in for a treat as they approach Cunningham Corner. Looks like Rob, always keen, is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control. I've seen molasses move faster than this. Just kidding, but Rob's surely making Smells Like We feel the heat. It's a southern summer showdown out here.
Megasaurus 55 is on a mission, chasing Rob, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
It's a dance of titans, a symphony of engines, and Megasaurus 55's tempo is rising.
In the grand chessboard of racing, Rob, always keen, appears to have just been checked. Now stationed at 4th. Well, I'd raise a toast to that move. Cheers to Rob for nabbing 3rd.
Absolutely. Rob is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
You know, Dan Fango reminds me of my dating life. Starts with promise, ends up tailing behind everyone else.
You ever been to a school reunion and thought, what happened to that guy? Well, I'm looking at Dan Fango, I'm thinking the same.
Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight, battling it out for every position.
It's a testament to the level of competition at AssettoCorsaFriends. Even the smallest mistake can cost you valuable seconds, or even lead to a crash. But these drivers are up to the challenge, and they're giving it their all. It's clear that AssettoCorsaFriends really is the place to be for top quality racing.
By the looks of it, Rob in 3rd is keen to throw another shrimp on the barbie and crank up the heat on Smells Like We. Hold on to your stubbies.
Will Keen be able to make a move and pass Smells Like We?
Boy, Rob's chassis balance is on point today. They're handling bumps and curbs smoother than a croc sliding into water. Smells like we's got a battle ahead.
Just what Rob needed, like sweet tea on a hot day. Can't let smells like we out of sight for too long.
Dan Fango's more lost out there than I was after a night at the Gold Coast, and at least I woke up with a kebab in hand.
Speaking of rhythm, have you heard Eddie's favorite song? Maybe Dan Fango can play it to distract them and close that gap. Just a thought.
And we're back, where the drivers are showing us some incredible skills.
Indeed, Rob, it's always exciting to see these skilled machines on the tracks. I mean, drivers. I always get them confused.
Who needs speed dating when you've got Megasaurus 55 chasing down Smells Like We this eagerly? Move over Tinder. This is how you swipe right at 100 miles per hour.
On this asphalt battlefield, Megasaurus 55's determination is the weapon, and Smells Like We is the target.
Looks like Smells Like We is legging it from Megasaurus 55. The gap's growing like a well-watered wattle as they zoom through Flying Fortress Strait. Hold on a moment, Dan Fango's off the track. Reminds me of my first car, a real lemon. Drove straight but only in reverse. Would y'all look at that gap? Megasaurus 55's got a better chance of finding a sober Aussie on Australia Day. But hey, we love an underdog. Go get them, Tiger.
Good lord, at this rate, Megasaurus 55 is gonna finish this race in the afterlife. Hope they got good insurance.
As the laps tick by, Cordo finds themselves in first. Every moment counts.
They're not just driving, they're performing. And right now, Cordo's act from first is worth an encore.
Cordo is off like a bride's nightie, leaving Keen huffing their exhaust fumes.
Yep, Rob, Cordo is tearing up the tarmac, but can Keen dig deep and go hell for leather to catch up?
In your experience, Al, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, Rob, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race strategy. It's a delicate balancing act that requires immense mental discipline.
Tell ya what, Megasaurus 55's got more guts than a croc in a boxing ring. Closing that gap and breathing down the neck of Smells Like We. Hope Smells Like We brought the aero guard, cause is about to get bitten.
As we say in North Carolina, if the porch light's on, someone's home. And Megasaurus 55's making it known. He's right there, waiting to make his move on Smells Like We.
Megasaurus 55 could be on a charge here. How they have just put in a quicker lap than Smells Like We.
As long as Megasaurus 55 can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
As the race settles down, the drivers are really going at it.
It's like watching a high-speed game of chess. One wrong move and it could be game over. But these drivers are masters of their craft, always thinking 3 steps ahead.
That's right. And with the way they're maneuvering those cars, it's like they have superpowers.
It's almost like they have the power of flight. But instead of flying, they're speeding down the track like rockets.
I wonder if they have any spare rocket boosters for sale. If Megasaurus 55 goes any slower, they'll join me in my failed dreams collection. Front row seats available. Hang on to your cork hats, mates. We're about to see more jousting than a footy final between Megasaurus 55 and Smells Like We.
Now this is what we call real racing. It's anyone's race, wide open as a Carolina sky. Who's gonna step up and take us to victory lane?
Good on ya, Sunoiler. Not letting Dan Fango get too comfy up front. Reckon he's planning a bit of a "G'day mate" on the next corner? With a move that's swift, I'd say Sunoiler's running on high octane, and maybe a bit of Aussie spirit. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Dan Fango is proper nipping at Sunoiler's heels. Are they thinking of making a lunge? Only time will tell. It's not going to plan for Dan Fango. They are still behind Sunoiler and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. One thing I admire about Assetto Corsa Friends is the sense of community. It's not just about the competition, it's about coming together, sharing knowledge, and pushing the boundaries of the sport.
You nailed it. Every time they hit the track, it's a culmination of shared experiences, lessons learned, and an undying passion for the sport. It's heartwarming and exhilarating all at once.
Everyone's on the edge of their seats, or in my case, on the edge of spilling my coffee. Dan Fango is getting closer to Sunoiler, and I'm getting closer to needing a towel. Mate, Dan Fango's creeping up on Sunoiler like a dingo on a picnic. Must have tweaked the brake bias a touch to the rear.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Creepy. Megasaurus 55 sticking to smells like we like Vegemite on toast. This is more tense than a possum in headlights. Megasaurus 55's been working the tyre temps, and it's paying off. Grip's better than a kangaroo on a trampoline. Watch out, smells like weed.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
I've been going over some historical stats, and the lap records at Sebring International Raceway have been shattered so many times.
It's a testament to the ever-evolving world of motorsport. What was once considered fast becomes the norm, and drivers and engineers are always pushing the envelope.
Megasaurus 55 is giving it their all as they chase down smells like we in P3. The gap between Sunoiler and Dan Fango is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Sunoiler to bring Dan Fango into play.
Reckon Dan Fango's starting to feel a bit like they're out in the outback. They can see the horizon, but it's a long way off. Good on ya, Sunoiler, for keeping that distance.
It's like Megasaurus 55 has saved all their energy for this final stretch. It's looking good for Cordo, sitting in first. And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Cordo. Rob takes second place with a fantastic race. Excellent focus from Smells Like Weed to secure a fantastic third place on the podium. Taking fourth is Megasaurus 55. Richard Rossier brings home fifth. Eddie G takes sixth. Seventh sees Sunoiler. Followed by Dan Fango in eighth.